Hey, it's Mindy with Astrology.by.love. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm going to be talking about Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi. So, if you've paid attention to the news at all in the past 4 years, you know these two hate each other. And I just wanted to see how they interacted. They both have pretty impressive Mars in their chart. So today I'm just going to be talking about Donald Trump's Mars and Nancy Pelosi's Mars and how they don't get along. If you want to follow along, Donald Trump's birth is June 14th, 1946. He was born at 10:54 a.m. in Queens, New York. And Nancy Pelosi, we don't have her birth time. Her birthday is March 26th, 1940, and she was born in Baltimore, Maryland. So first I'm going to talk about Trump's Mars, since we know his birth time and what house it's in and everything. And then I'm going to talk about Pelosi's Mars, and then we're going to talk about how they affect each other. So just to get started with the stats, Trump's Mars is at 26 degrees and 46 minutes of Leo. It's in his 12th house. It's about 3 degrees from his ascendant. And then it's also 22 minutes away from the star Alphard, which is at 27 degrees and 8 minutes of Leo. So we're going to talk about all this right now. So Donald Trump's Mars is in Leo. And Mars feels good in Leo. So it's, as you know, the constellation is represented by the lion, king of the jungle. And when Mars is in Leo, the native is motivated by being the king, the center of attention. They are motivated by luxury, praise. They think of themselves as the best and want to be known as the best. So Mars in Leo is a ferocious fighter and one that does not back down. Now, it takes them a moment to get going. Like if you've watched lions out in the wild, they kind of hang out and chill, and then all of a sudden they've had it and boom, they're there. Mars in Leo is also good at cultivating a tribe of warriors. That's also, you think about the pride of lions. So, you know, lions like to have lots of little cubs following them around to rear and raise. Leo does rule the 5th house, and that's the house of children and play and upbringing. And Mars in Leo likes to have a bunch of kiddos, a pride of cubs. Mars in Leo is also popular, tends to have lots of friends, and is also rather stubborn. So Leo is a fixed sign, and that's, that's part of being a fixed sign. So President Trump's Mars is 22 minutes away from Alphard. Alphard is just below the constellation of Leo. It's in the constellation of Hydra, and Hydra is a constellation of a water serpent. So Alphard is sometimes referred to as the heart of the snake. And this particular star, so anatomically speaking, snakes' hearts are in their throat. And so when you look at that constellation in the sky, Alphard looks like it's in its throat, but it's called the heart of the snake. So that star brings to President Trump's Mars the energy of wisdom, of musical and artistic appreciation, intuitive knowing of human nature, as well as sometimes uncontrollable passions and immorality. So we do know that Trump is motivated by art and luxury. If y'all ever watched The Apprentice, you'll remember several times he used to say he wanted the Trump brand to be a brand of luxury. When people think of Trump, that's what they think of, and that goes along with Alphard, the appreciation of art and music. And you would also not have to look far in President Trump's past to find where his passions have led him to moral failures. I've watched an interview with him, and he talks about his financial failures in the early 90s, and he realized they happened because he was running around with women all the time, all these different women, and so he reversed it and got back on top. But and Alphard, another thing to note, when Mars is in line with Alphard, it can also cause death by poisoning. We had the little water hydrant serpent, or asphyxiation. So something choking. And so, all this energy finds itself in President Trump's 12th house. So that is not a really great placement for Mars. So it's a strong Mars, it's a powerful Mars, but then it's in the 12th house. And so when Mars is in the 12th house, it does show someone has impressive bedroom skills. It also shows that they are likely to cheat on their lover. And whenever someone with Mars in the 12th house steps out of line, they are also going to be caught. They're not more likely to be caught. They get caught one way or the other, even if they're incredibly careful without realizing it. Boom, they're caught. And when they get caught, they are given the worst punishment. And if there's a way for them to receive punishment worse than the worst punishment, that's what they get. So, the 12th house also talks about when someone's Mars is in the 12th house, they are either a victor or a victim behind the closed doors of some sort of traditional institution. So something like a church, a hospital, a jail, a palace, and in this case, the government. So, you're either on top or you're on bottom with Mars in the 12th house in these institutions. And so if he steps out of line, he gets caught. The moral failures brought to his Mars by Alphard are, once again brought about and punished by it being in the 12th house. Most of the time, people who have their Mars in the 12th house are addicted or even severely addicted to drugs or alcohol or cigarettes. President Trump claims to have never used any of these. If he had, we'd seen it in the news, he gets caught for his lies. That's what this placement tells us. But it's really best when someone has Mars in the 12th house never to touch these things, because they're not going to be able to handle it. Mars in the 12th house can also cause nightmares, can cause a lack of sleep, and when President Trump travels to other countries, he feels energized. He gets energy, being away from where he was born. So, and most importantly, the thing that I wanted to talk about with Mars in the 12th house, it brings you a lot of enemies, or you are paranoid about having a lot of enemies. And so Donald Trump has people in his life who hate him, and they don't even know why. They just hate him. And that is the influence of Mars in the 12th house. So, we definitely see that play out on the media. So, once again, the dysfunction of the star Alphard influencing Trump's Mars, brings about, it's kind of like a double whammy. Not an astrological double whammy, just the term. But, the 12th house placement causes him to suffer from it. So, next I wanted to talk about Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. So, she has a pretty interesting Mars as well. Their Mars are square less than a degree away. So, it doesn't take an astrologer to know that those two don't get along. We're just talking about astrologically how we can see that. So Nancy's Mars is in the sign of Taurus, and her Mars is at 25 degrees, 58 minutes of Taurus, and the star Algol, Algol, is at 26 degrees and 10 minutes of Taurus. So that's a mere 12 minutes away. So we're going to talk about Mars and Taurus first. So Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Mars is not really happy in Taurus. It's not quick to act. It's not quick to go after stuff. Taurus, once again, well, not once again, but Taurus is also a fixed sign. So that's where that comes from. And Mars in Taurus is just slow out of the gate. It's an expert at stalling and wanting to wait and think about it and make sure they're doing something right. A little bit lazy. So they like to make sure it's right and necessary before spending that energy going after something. If you've ever watched a bullfight, you know that in the beginning those bulls are just bored and uninterested in all those clowns running around the ring. But once those clowns have like poked it and irritated it and agitated it, all of a sudden that bull comes to life and plows through and comes and gets it. And so Mars and Taurus is the same way. They have to be agitated, poked, prodded, and then they can't hold back. Then they just go barreling through, and that's how Mars and Taurus is. So, like I said, both Taurus and Leo are fixed signs, and they like things their way. They do not like change. They do not adjust easily. And Mars and Taurus, though, once they get going, they are unstoppable. And like their symbol, the bull, once they're going, it's not a refined mental agility, strategizing, or anything like that. They are just plowing through, obliterating everything in their path. So Nancy's Mars also has the influence of Algol. So Nancy does have a strategizing Mars because of this influence of Algol. Algol is known, if y'all watched some of my previous videos, I've talked about it. Algol is known as the most evil star in the sky. So there was an astrologer in the 15th century, William Lilly, and he gave Algol a 5-degree orb of influence. So now if you remember, a degree has 60 minutes in it. So 300 minutes of influence from the star Algol, and Nancy's Mars is within 12 minutes of it. So this star is very much influencing her Mars, how she goes after stuff, how she gets stuff. Just a little bit about Algol is in the constellation of Perseus. And so the quick story about Perseus is that to overcome his childhood and be a hero, he tracked down Medusa and cut her head off while she was sleeping. The constellation shows Perseus standing, and then he is holding Medusa's head in his hand. Now, Medusa at one time was beautiful. She had sex with Poseidon and Athena's temple, and Athena turned Medusa into a monster. And so Medusa's hair was turned into snakes, and her eyes, when you looked upon them, would turn the onlooker into stone. So Algol, you've got the snakes in the head, and snakes are very shrewd. They plan things. They kind of see how it's coming. So Nancy has the influence of a head full of snakes. Like all that planning and conniving and shrewdness is going on in her mind. So she doesn't just have a plan, she has a backup plan to the backup plan. She's very good at strategizing. And so and anyway, so we talked about William Lilly giving Algol a 5-degree orb. So yeah, we're showing that Nancy's good at concocting shrewd plans, and the multiple snakes with their multiple brains, and Algol influences Nancy's Mars and gives her the energy of multiple strategies and schemes, and she has the intent of turning her enemies into stone. So I found it very interesting that both President Trump and Nancy Pelosi have their Mars influenced by snakes. So Trump's stars being in the constellation of Hydra, and Nancy with the beheaded Medusa's eye with the snake hair. So Algol also has with it the energy of beheading. So once again, we've got that reference to the throat. So anyways, I'm not saying that, Trump's Alphard energy shows the possibility of poisoning or asphyxiation. And so I'm not saying that Pelosi is going to behead or poison or choke President Trump to death behind closed doors in a government building. But I am going to tell you that astrologically the energy is there. She, at the very least, has had the thoughts. So anyways, with Trump being in the White House right now, his Mars energy is fully activated and fully stimulating and aggravating Nancy Pelosi's Mars. Their Mars are just under a degree of being exactly square. Super close, super frustrating, and irritating to both of them. So when two people have their planets square to each other, they can't even really comprehend or understand what the other person comes from in regards to that portion of their life. Trump and Pelosi are always caught off guard by each other's attacks. They just don't go after things the same way. So Trump, with his Mars and Leo, is like, I'm the best, you're the best, let's go all after this together, come on. And Nancy's like, wait, let me plan and plan and plan, and then she will push it through regardless of everything else and get it done. And these two Mars just don't communicate. So another interesting thing to point out, and I don't even think I've shown you all the charts yet, but so this is a synastry chart. I got this off of astroseek.com. So here is Trump's Mars right here. Trump is on the inside. So we've got Trump's Mars, and it's squaring Nancy's Mars. And Nancy's Mars is just a little over a degree inside Trump's 10th house, close to his MC. So the MC line, it stands for Medium Coeli. It's Latin for middle of the sky. It's also referred to as the midheaven in astrology. But this point in the natal chart tells a lot about what one does for work and how they are known. And it starts the 10th house, which is the house of career and accomplishment. And Nancy's Mars here shows that she gets irritated and frustrated by Trump's accomplishments, and that Trump's accomplishments are also irritated by her. So, Trump's Mars and Leo get something, hey, I'm the best, you're great. Nancy's like, no, you're not, you're ridiculous and you're awful. And anyways, God bless these two. So anyways, no matter what your political affiliation is, you have got to admire these two for going after what they want. They are world changers and have changed the world for good or bad. That's, I guess up to your opinion and still waiting to be seen, but they have both made a big impact, and their Mars placement has a lot to do with it. So thank you for hanging out with me today. Like and subscribe down below. Leave a comment of other celebrities you would like to see, and I will do my best to get to them. Thank you.